Secret of Success. Chapter 1. The Secret of Success. An odyssey through determination, discipline, and deliberate design. In the grand tapestry of human aspiration, the pursuit of success is perhaps the most profoundly persistent endeavor of all. Countless individuals across generations have endeavored to unravel the enigmatic secret of success, seeking to decode the formula that transmutes ordinary existence into extraordinary accomplishment. However, success is not a solitary act of luck, nor a fortuitous alignment of circumstances. It is a confluence of purpose, driven intentionality, unwavering perseverance, and the alchemy of relentless self-evolution. To understand success in its truest form, one must first deconstruct the multifaceted components that constitute it. It is neither a static destination nor a singular triumph. Rather, it is a continuum of progressions, a dynamic metamorphosis of the self, and a manifestation of sustained excellence through cultivated habits. In this chapter, we shall undertake an exhaustive examination of the philosophical, psychological, and practical dimensions of success, with meticulous attention to the intricacies that define it. 1. The paradigm of purposeful vision. At the heart of every successful individual lies a clearly articulated, passionately pursued vision. This vision functions not merely as a motivational image, but as an existential compass, orienting all decisions and actions toward an ultimate objective. Purpose gives propulsion. Vision imparts direction. Without these, ambition is like a ship set adrift in a boundless ocean, subject to the merciless whims of chance and circumstance. Those who attain authentic success exhibit an almost obsessive clarity in defining their purpose. Their objectives are not nebulous desires, but vividly imagined, emotionally charged constructs, often articulated with such intensity that they galvanize the subconscious mind into perpetual motion. This is the realm of teleological orientation, living and acting in alignment with a purpose that transcends immediate gratification and taps into a more enduring legacy. 2. Meticulous self-discipline and behavioral architecture. The discipline required for success is neither circumstantial nor inherited. It is cultivated through incremental acts of self-mastery and conscious behavioral engineering. The ability to delay gratification, to adhere to routines, and to maintain focus amidst a sea of distractions is among the most distinguishing traits of high achievers. Success, in its most quantifiable manifestations, is less about spontaneous genius and more about the structured reinforcement of productive habits. Individuals who orchestrate their lives around consistent behavioral frameworks, leveraging routines, rituals, and environmental design, exponentially enhance their efficacy. This is not simply about motivation. It is about behavioral optimization through cognitive behavioral consistency. Discipline must be viewed not as a constraint, but as a creative force. It liberates one from the chaos of impulsivity and ushers in the serenity of self-determined progress. A well-disciplined individual becomes the architect of their own destiny, constructing success brick by deliberate brick. 3. The resilience of psychological fortitude. No odyssey toward greatness is without adversity. The annals of human achievement are saturated with tales of failure, rejection, hardship, and humiliation. Yet within these narratives lies the unyielding thread of psychological resilience, the indomitable capacity to withstand, adapt, and rise from life's inevitable tribulations. This resilience is not the absence of suffering, but the presence of an elevated perspective. It is the ability to recontextualize failure not as a terminal defeat, but as a formative lesson. The most triumphant individuals are those who have mastered the art of cognitive reframing, who use the language of setbacks to write epic stories of resurgence. They do not merely endure hardship, they extract wisdom from it. Each obstacle is alchemized into strength. Each defeat is mined for clarity. This adaptive psychological elasticity is arguably one of the most underappreciated attributes in the conversation surrounding success. 4. The unrelenting pursuit of intellectual augmentation. True success is never static. It is animated by the principle of continuous evolution, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. The most accomplished individuals are perennial students of life. They immerse themselves in intellectual autopoiesis, a self-sustaining loop of learning, unlearning, and relearning. Knowledge in this context is not merely informational, it is transformational. It reshapes perception, deepens insight, and enhances decision-making. The secret of success is tightly interwoven with the habit of intentional education. Reading voraciously, seeking mentorship, cultivating curiosity, and engaging in dialectical thinking are all part of this ceaseless cognitive expansion. In an age saturated with superficiality and digital noise, those who invest in genuine intellectual growth rise above mediocrity. They learn not to impress, but to express, not to appear knowledgeable, but to become wise. 5. The ecosystem of associations and social synergy. Human beings are inescapably social. The influence of one's environment, particularly the individuals within it, cannot be overstated. Success, though deeply personal, is rarely solitary. High achievers are intentional in curating their ecosystems. They surround themselves with people who challenge mediocrity, elevate standards, and provide both accountability and inspiration. They understand the law of social osmosis, that beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors are contagious. To unlock success, one must audit and architect their social circles, seek mentors who stretch your thinking, engage collaborators who demand your excellence, avoid cynics who trivialize your aspirations. In the presence of greatness, one becomes great. 6. The invisible currency, time allocation and strategic patience. Perhaps the most finite and unforgiving resource in the success equation is time. While talent may differ and opportunities may vary, time remains a universal constant, irrevocable, non-renewable, and brutally honest. The most successful individuals are obsessive time investors. They understand the economics of temporal allocation. They do not spend time. They allocate it, invest it, protect it. Their calendars are strategic manifestos of priority, focus, and intentionality. But time alone is not sufficient. One must also possess strategic patience, the ability to endure the gestational periods of greatness. Success is seldom instantaneous. The seed must be planted, nurtured, and protected through seasons of drought before it bears fruit. 7. Authenticity, integrity, and the alignment of identity. At the deepest level, sustainable success arises from the alignment between external achievement and internal authenticity. When values, actions, and identity are congruent, the individual, a powerful sense of fulfillment. What some may refer to as existential coherence. Authenticity is not a weakness. It is the greatest form of personal power. To act in accordance with one's highest values, to speak from a place of truth, and to lead a life not borrowed from societal expectations but carved from intrinsic conviction. That is success in its highest form. Integrity becomes the invisible scaffolding that supports every endeavor. Without it, success collapses under the weight of contradiction. With it, success becomes not only attainable, but meaningful. Chapter 2. The Liberation of Self-Reliance, Ceasing Dependency and Embracing Autonomous Empowerment. In the boundless continuum of human growth and personal transformation, one of the most significant evolutionary leaps is the conscious decision to cease depending on others for validation, stability, fulfillment, or direction. This metamorphic pivot from external reliance to internal self-sufficiency is not only liberating, it is fundamentally essential to the cultivation of authentic autonomy, emotional sovereignty, and existential self-mastery. The path to greatness demands a severance from the habitual, often unconscious tethering of one's potential to the actions, opinions, or presence of others. True success, sustainable, dignified, and meaningful, emerges not from passive dependence, but from intrapersonal fortification, deliberate self-governance, and an unshakable trust in one's own cognitive, emotional, and spiritual faculties. In this chapter, we will explore, through comprehensive elaboration and philosophical profundity, why dependency is a subtle form of self-abandonment, and how the conscious cultivation of self-reliance can unleash an unparalleled transformation in one's life. 1. Dependency, the elegant illusion of safety. Dependency often disguises itself as comfort, safety, or love. It masquerades as loyalty, humility, or trust. Yet beneath this facade lies an insidious erosion of individual power. The psychological architecture of dependency is built on the assumption that one's happiness, worth, or stability is predicated on the consistency or approval of others. This orientation creates a subconscious system of emotional outsourcing, wherein the individual relinquishes authorship over their inner world. When others become the custodians of your confidence, your peace, or your progress, you become a psychological tenant in someone else's domain, a fragile structure built on conditional foundations. The truth is, dependency is an illusion of safety. It offers short-term emotional relief, but long-term disempowerment. Like an addictive anesthetic, it dulls the ache of self-responsibility while simultaneously deepening one's estrangement from inner authority. 2. The myth of rescue, deconstructing the savior complex. One of the most culturally ingrained, yet existentially damaging beliefs is the myth of rescue. The fantasy that someone somewhere will eventually come along to save us from our struggles, insecurities, or stagnation. Whether rooted in romanticized narratives, familial expectations, or social programming, This soteriological fantasy is a subtle but pervasive psychological trap. Waiting to be saved is the ultimate form of disempowerment. It is the abdication of one's sovereign agency in exchange for the comfort of codependence. The expectation of rescue externalizes responsibility and fossilizes inertia. Greatness, freedom, and inner peace are never gifted. They are self-generated. No one is coming. And therein lies the paradoxical power. When you stop waiting, you start creating. When you dismantle the myth of rescue, you unlock the full magnitude of your own capacity. The self-reliance, the architecture of inner sovereignty. Self-reliance is not mere self-sufficiency. It is existential authorship. It is the uncompromising decision to become the source of your own stability, joy, and direction. It is not antisocial isolation, but intrapersonal actualization. The self-reliant individual is governed by intrinsic values, not external validation. Their emotional equilibrium is not held hostage by others' behaviors, nor is their self-worth a reflection of external accolades or acceptance. They understand that relying on others for emotional constancy is skin to building a fortress on quicksand, impermanent, unpredictable, and precariously volatile. Cultivating self-reliance requires a conscious restructuring of one's internal paradigm. It demands the construction of intrapersonal resilience, the strengthening of decision-making, muscles, and the forging of a psychological sanctuary that remains unshaken by external fluctuations. And the psychological cost of over-reliance. The consequences of sustained dependency are not always visible, but they are always profound. Dependency weakens initiative. It breeds entitlement, fosters victimhood, and corrodes self-trust. Over time, it generates a cognitive inertia that dulls motivation and paralyzes growth. When an individual becomes habitually dependent on others for clarity or courage, they lose the ability to navigate ambiguity, make firm decisions, or pursue ambitions that require risk. Their personal evolution is arrested by their fear of abandonment, disapproval, or failure. The psychosomatic manifestations of dependency can include anxiety, chronic indecision, diminished self-esteem, and a perpetual sense of disempowerment. And perhaps the most tragic cost, they never fully meet themselves. Their untapped greatness remains dormant, shackled by borrowed belief systems and second-hand courage. 5. Emotional self-sufficiency, the antidote to approval addiction. At the epicenter of dependency lies a dangerous addiction, the need for external approval. This compulsion to be liked, validated, or chosen distorts decision-making and weakens boundaries. It causes individuals to mold themselves into palatable versions of what others expect, while simultaneously betraying their authentic identity. Emotional self-sufficiency is the antidote. It is the sacred art of self-validation, the ability to witness, honor, and approve of oneself, even in the absence of applause or agreement. It is cultivated through radical self-acceptance, internal dialogue refinement, and the consistent practice of honoring one's own truth above collective expectations. Those who master emotional sovereignty become immune to manipulation, rejection, and social instability. They possess the rare ability to walk alone without feeling abandoned, to be misunderstood without becoming insecure, and to love others deeply without depending on them destructively. 6. The power of radical responsibility. To transcend dependency, one must embrace the principle of radical responsibility, the courageous acknowledgement that everything within your inner life is your responsibility regardless of external circumstances. This is not about blame, it is about self-sovereign accountability. Radical responsibility is an act of reclamation. It returns the reins of control back into your hands. It declares that your reactions, interpretations, decisions, and emotional patterns are not dictated by others but governed by your own conscious volition. This level of ownership transforms relationships, work, and personal growth. Instead of demanding others change to accommodate your peace, you evolve your peace to be independent of others' behavior. Instead of waiting to be chosen, you choose yourself. 7. Creating an autonomous life framework. To stop depending on others, one must create a functional, self-sustaining life framework, a system wherein the basic psychological, emotional, and even logistical needs are met through deliberate personal strategy. Cultivate inner dialogue. Replace self-doubt with self-encouragement. Become your own greatest advocate, coach, and cheerleader. Establish ritualized self-care. Treat yourself with the same devotion you wish to receive from others. Prioritize your wellness, not as luxury, but as necessity. Build personal systems. From financial independence to emotional regulation, create repeatable systems that reduce chaos and increase agency. Strengthen boundaries. Learn to say no without guilt. Let go of compulsive people-pleasing. Protect your energy as sacred currency. Develop discernment. Learn the difference between genuine connection and parasitic dependency. Seek mutual respect, not emotional babysitting. The autonomous individual lives not in isolation, but in integrity with their individuality. They enter relationships from fullness, not desperation. They lead lives of dignity, not dependency. Conclusion: the ascension of the independent soul. To stop depending on others is to reclaim the sacred sovereignty of your soul. It is to dismantle the lie that you are incomplete without someone else's guidance, affection, or attention. It is to step into the full magnitude of your potential, not as an echo of someone else's opinions, but as an original, empowered expression of self-defined purpose. This is not an act of rebellion, it is an act of rebirth. It is not the rejection of connection, but the elevation of it. Because only those who are whole within themselves can create relationships that are not rooted in fear, control, or need, but in love, mutuality, and freedom. When you stop depending on others, you don't become alone. You become limitless.